Oh boy, this looks like a big damage. I should definitely try this out.
No, 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 no.
Are you winning, son?
Dad, I don't have a brain.
Nope.
5 minutes later.
Nope.
Help me! Help me!
Nope.
Hey guys, so I was looking for some excuse to play with Infernal Blow. I haven't played it in a while and it's very satisfying to play and map clear with it because all those massive flash explosions. And basically you just one tap the whole screen sometimes if enemies are close enough. So I was looking for excuse to do that and I decided to go with the Actum axe because it's weird thing. People think that it's complete trash, but it's not. Actually, interesting ways you can build around it, actually. I'm gonna explain all about those mechanics, but first I want to go over how this build performed in the end, because Infernal Blow was never made for single target. It was never good for single target. If you want to do bossing, maybe go with the other skill, maybe with the other build completely, or maybe adapt it, but after I explain about the axe, adapt to your own liking. But Infernal Blow is mainly for the clear speed, and you probably should not try to make it into a single target skill. Now, in path of building, I actually made this to have pretty decent single target damage. It has almost 2 million DPS with melee hit, and another around 1.6 million secondary effect explosion. So that does sound pretty good, but that is if you have maximum rage, which is pretty annoying to ramp up with this build. And after getting maximum blitz charges, which basically gives you a bunch of attack speed, and with the Val Ancestral Warchief up and all 3 flasks up at the same time. The damage can be very random, and I do have pretty high critical multiplier, so when I do crit, it does chunk pretty hard. In the end, doing Conquerors and doing Series was not pleasant with this because of those conditional things, and it just feels slow. It would work much better with Unarmed. This build is not really for endgame, but you can farm tier 15, tier 16 maps relatively fine, and the investment into this build was in the body armor. And originally I wasn't even planning on getting a really juicy body armor, but I found one for 8 exalts and I just bought it because it helps to counter the Abyssus. The weapon, I'm gonna talk about the weapon first. So the weapon has no sockets, it has around 320 base physical DPS, which is pretty decent for single target, for one-handed weapon. And then it says you have no intelligence, so you basically have 0 intelligence, as you can see in the start screen. And then critical strike chance is between 20 and 90, depending on your roll. For hits with this weapon. So this is not a base critical strike chance. This literally fixes your critical strike chance to whatever you have. In this case, it is 29%. So a cool thing about this, the negatives from like blitz charges do not affect your crit chance. So when getting blitz charges, you're also losing your critical strike chance. But with this axe, you don't. You only get positive, so you only get attack speed. That's why I picked Berserker. And obviously then went with the Rite of Ruin, because I'm never picking Aspect of Carnage ever again until we change that. That 10% increased damage taken is just massive. And then, since I don't really need to get critical strike chance because it literally does nothing for me, I try to kind of avoid getting crit multiplier nodes, or at least getting just the biggest one, just the closest one along the path, like Disemboweling, which does give some crit chance, but that's whatever. And it just gives a bit of crit multiplier. And the rest of my critical multiplier is coming from Abyssus, which is this one is currently giving 125% melee critical strike multiplier, along with big flat damage to attacks. And then Marylene's Fallacy Amulet, which in this case it's all nearly perfect. It can give you up to 240% global critical strike multiplier. So that's all of your critical strike multiplier from basically 2 items. Now the other thing, how the hell do I have no intelligence but am able to equip like elemental focus and all the other items and skills and gems that require intelligence? And it's very simple. I get it from the Timeless Jewel, Elegant Hubris with Caspiro. You search for Caspiro, you're gonna find there's gonna be only one option in the search window. You're gonna select that, Elegant Hubris, and it's gonna give you Supreme Ostentation, not sure how to pronounce this. Ignore attribute requirements. However, the drawback is gain no inherent bonuses from attributes. So strength is not gonna give you melee damage and flat life, which is actually pretty sad, and it's much harder to get enough life. I do have over 200% life from the tree, but I'm barely getting 6,000 life because I'm just missing a bunch of flat life. Now this jewel also corrupts all the small nodes and turns the bigger nodes into something new. So I am also getting 80% increased melee damage, and I have planned this passive tree like 5 times. It doesn't matter where I place this, it's very similar damage and similar outcomes. So Timeless Jewel counters the no intelligence and the base critical strike chance. Okay, now the base critical strike chance, it's not really base critical strike chance like I said, but you can actually increase your effective critical strike chance. One thing is Diamond Flask. Diamond Flask just rolls critical strike chance twice. So like let's say you have 29% critical strike chance. If you hit and it doesn't crit, it rolls critical strike chance again. So it has more chance of rolling critical strike chance. So this way you get around, just from the Diamond Flask, you end up with around 49-50% base effective critical strike chance. Now I'm not entirely sure, but Assassin's Mark is not buffing your critical strike chance, it's a debuff on enemy. Same goes for Brittle Ailment. I cannot confirm this because it would be very difficult to test this and verify, but you probably can use Assassin's Mark and Brittle to increase that critical strike chance a lot more. But for Brittle you would have to be hitting with cold and lose the ability to freeze. So you may actually want to play like Ice Crash maybe and go with the Brittle. Not sure how you would get the Brittle. You can get Brittle on the shield, but on my shield I decided to go with the Lycosidae because I'm not getting any flat accuracy from dexterity as well because of that Timeless Jewel. So getting flat accuracy is pretty difficult. And in the end I decided, instead of picking up accuracy nodes on the tree and getting the jewels to get accuracy and gloves and stuff like that, I just decided to go with Lycosidae shield. As for the rest of my items, Abyssus, on the body armor you want to get either physical damage from hits taken as fire or some physical damage reduction, or both if you can. So if you can get that, then add life and then craft percentage life. That would be the best outcome, I guess. And this is what I got. I paid 8 exalts for this. This was kind of a steal, I believe. But other than this body armor, there's nothing really expensive. I anointed this node on the tree, which does give accuracy, because originally I was planning on going with accuracy, but it still gives 30% increased damage and 40% critical multiplier with access. So it is still pretty big damage boost. Then both rings with elemental damage of attacks, and then life some rest, and then I did need to get to lower my mana cost. You can actually get Replica Conqueror's Efficiency. Replica Conqueror's Efficiency is -9 mana cost, but well, using that just for one mod when you can get that on a ring, I would rather get that on a ring and use Jewel for something else. Then on my belt, I used this belt from previous build, so I just kept that. Aspect of the Spider does give like enemies take increased damage and slows enemies down a bit, so it does help me. Then on the gloves, okay, the gloves can also be a bit expensive. I decided instead of weapons, instead of swapping support gem from Ancestral Call into something else, I decided to go with Strike skill targets one additional nearby enemy and also get Tribal Fury on the passive tree, which costed 4 points, which is a bit much just for that, but it's alright. I'm also getting +1 to melee strike range, actually getting a bit more, so my Infernal Blow can reach quite far away. For the flasks, Diamond Flask, like I said, boosts your critical strike chance indirectly. Then Sulfur for more regen and damage. Lance Roar gives the most melee damage. It is fully converted to fire, so I'm still getting damage from melee physical damage boost, because that's before the conversion. Oh, by the way, on boots I managed to get these boots, which do give a bit of damage because gain 5% physical damage as extra fire. Well, it does give some damage. Now for the support gems, I'm actually using Anomalous Infernal Blow. I wasn't sure what it does, but people said that it basically allows to chain explode enemies. The explosions normally would not explode other enemies that did not get hit directly by Infernal Blow, but this gives you a 20% chance to apply uncharged debuff on a hit. Essentially it works like a chain explosion, so sometimes you can see like the whole screen explode. And I'm not using melee splash, so Infernal Blow is linked to divergent elemental damage of attacks. Divergent basically to just get elemental damage leech as mana, because I don't really have anywhere else to get mana leech. Then I got elemental focus because it's a big damage boost. Melee physical damage, again big damage boost. Fortify, want to be tanky because wearing Abyssus, and then decided to use close combat. This does give damage, a bit more damage than multi-strike, but multi-strike may feel better against single target. I'm not entirely sure, but for clear speed I definitely want close combat, or actually fire pen. Fire pen is not as good damage multiplier, but against some enemies that have a lot of resistance, fire pen does work better. Then I do have Wave of Conviction linked with Combustion, Hex Touch and Flammability. Next I got Enduring Cry with Second Wind, and I'm using on the left click because I do have actually Call to Arms node allocated, Keystone. And also I have Cast on Damage Taken linked with Molten Chill, because I do have a bit of armor, like 4.6k, almost 4.7k armor without flash. Leap Slam linked with faster attacks and Ancestral Warchief. I also do have level 1 precision, but that's only because I have Watcher's Eye, which does give 14% increased attack speed while affected by precision. And I wanted Watcher's Eye because I don't have leech elsewhere, so I have to also use level 1 vitality and using Watcher's Eye to get leech, because I just did not want to travel all the way here to get life and mana leech, but you could do that. So I also have Herald of Ash with quality, Herald of Purity, and level 1 vitality, like I said. Now on the jewels, you probably want flat life jewels and not percentage life, so you're gonna have to go with the abyssal jewels. Just try to get as much flat life, and then attack speed and either physical damage or fire damage to attacks, but you can probably roll higher fire damage than physical, so go with whatever you can afford, I guess. Now for the conversion, if you don't want to use gloves to get extra conversion, because Infernal Blow is only 60% conversion and I'm not using Watcher's Eye for anger for conversion, so it's very easy. You just get these two nodes, Magmatic Strike, and you get full conversion into fire basically. Now you also notice that from Marauder tree, I went through the stat nodes. That's this because this damage jewel corrupts all the small nodes and they give you nothing. So going through here, you would have to spend 1 point more. You're basically saving a point. Yeah, and the rest of the passive skill tree, getting fortify nodes, getting call to arms because endurance charges are pretty important while wearing Abyssus, getting a bit of armor, life, extra endurance charges, and yeah, I was traveling towards the Templar area because I was thinking maybe I'm gonna need increased AoE, but I decided to instead take these 3 nodes for brinkmanship. It does give melee strike range, which does help as well, and it does give some AoE. Now, as for the next build, I planned a live Whispering Eyes build with the Mask of the Stitch Demon, which is a bit expensive, but the rest of the items are pretty cheap. So for the next build, I'm gonna be revisiting my old Whispering Eyes build with that helmet, and it may not be that great, but it should have enough damage, should have enough life, and just Whispering Eyes, by the way, and Ice Storm got slightly reworked, so it is now limited to 5 Ice Storms only, but it does more damage, and the visuals looks a bit different. That's kind of the main reason why I decided to revisit Whispering Eyes. So yeah, that's it for now. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.